What's your boy phone of reaction? In today's video, we have which star from the Lost generation has been the most disappointing by Chahil's Court. Make sure to comment, subscribe. Let's get into it. Oh, shalala. Most disappointing, probably Ja and Zion.
Today's NBA is nowhere
That's SGA in the back.
close to what we
Yeah, that's
expected
him.
it to be 5 years ago. Back in the beginning of the decade, it was clear who the next crop of stars were going to be. In addition to Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum, we all expected Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, Trae Young, and LaMelo Ball to be amongst the
Out of them three, LaMelo the best. LaMelo got injury problems, so he be hurt a lot, but he be on the court way more than them. Nigga, did Trey Young even play a game for the Wizards yet? Every time I see a Wizards game, that nigga on the bench. Like, I don't think that nigga played a game for them yet. But they season over with game. He might as well just sit on the bench. Like, they tanking. Like,
league's best, stacking up awards and leaving their imprint on this
yeah, literally, out of them three, LaMelo about to go to the playoffs. Like, they're gonna be in the play-in, I'm pretty sure. He the best out of them. He the most consistent.
era of basketball. Say what you want about Luka and Tatum, but they've gone on to have lucrative careers in their own respective ways. However, the same can't be said about the rest. For one reason or another, Zion, Ja, Trey, and LaMelo have all failed to pan out. In terms of how it's going to work,
LaMelo ain't failed a pan out game. I don't know when you record this video, but game, that nigga, yeah, he's still the best player on the Hornets game. He is, bro.
I'm going to do a brief recap of each player's career year by year, highlight key moments, diagnose what went wrong, and see where they currently stand today. From there, I think we can get a pretty good idea of where each of these guys rank in comparison to one another. Starting with the player that's had the least disappointing career thus far, it has to be Trae Young. Now, I know his stock is just about as low as it's ever been at this moment in time, but his accomplishments are quite simply too far ahead of the rest of the other three to put him anywhere else on this list. Just like he is today, Trae Young was seen as a polarizing prospect coming into the league. He led the NCAA in both points and assists during his lone season at Oklahoma, but critics often pointed to his high usage and small frame as two major weaknesses that wouldn't translate to the next level. His
Yeah, that nigga 6'1", 6 foot.
question marks about NBA fit were honestly similar to his draft classmate Luka Doncic, who he was ultimately traded for. Now, it's pretty clear that Luka is at least a tier or two above Trae, but there was a brief period of time where the consensus was up in the air. Immediately upon arrival, Trae proved that his playstyle could at the very least result in counting stats in the NBA. He put up numbers on par with Luka during the 2019 season, and finished second in Rookie of the Year voting for a Hawks team that was in the thick of a rebuild. Despite another lackluster season in terms of team success,
God damn, I didn't know that nigga averaged 29 points in 2020. God damn.
he broke out as a true star in his second season, averaging 29 points and 9 assists a game, and route to becoming an all-star starter. While his defensive deficiencies were quite simply unavoidable, there was no doubt that Trae was a superb offensive engine. He was being seen as the next evolution of Stephen Curry, a long-range sniper who also thrives as a distributor. In year 3, things started off a bit shaky, but ended up becoming the peak
Yeah, bro, that run they made, bro, them niggas could have made the finals. They got knocked off by the Bucks.
of Trae Young's career. Atlanta brought in a ton of new pieces during the offseason, with the goal of expediting their rebuild and getting back into the playoff picture. However, they started the season at just 13-17, much worse than initially expected. On top of that, Trae's numbers stagnated a bit. Because of this, Young went from starting in the All-Star game in 2020 to being left off the roster entirely in 2021. While this was without a doubt disappointing, Atlanta ended up hitting their stride at the right time as they surged to the 5 seed to finish the regular season. And the playoffs are where things really got fun. The Hawks upset the Knicks in round 1, where Young immediately asserted himself as an all-time villain in the city of New York.
Would you really say that was an upset though? Who the hell was on this Knicks team? Man, I see that's Julius Randle, nigga. That's Taj Gibson.
Hitting a buzzer beater
That's Bullock. I'm pretty sure Reggie Bullock.
in the first
Was
game,
that really a upset?
while constantly drawing with fans throughout the series. After that, the Hawks knocked off the 1 seed 76ers in a thrilling 7-game series,
Like them niggas had no Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was still on the Mavericks. Like,
meaning that Trae led the Hawks all the way to the conference finals in his very first playoff run. Through the first few games against the Bucks, it honestly looked like the series could have gone either way.
yeah.
However, Trae sprained his ankle in the second half of Game 3, which led to him missing Games 4 and 5 before eventually returning as a shell of himself in Game 6.
Man, you gotta play through that shit. I don't care. Sprain, like you gotta play through that shit, son. If you really bought it, you really trying to win the chip, son.
Where Atlanta Cinderella's story came to an end. While the run ended in disappointing fashion, it truly seemed like the sky was the limit for both Atlanta and Trey at the time, as the team was expected to be perennial contenders from this point forward. But unfortunately, it's only downhill from here. Looking back, it seems that a lot of things broke right for the Hawks in 2021, and in the following year, they weren't so lucky. Trey had his best statistical season to date, making an All-NBA team for the only time in his career, but it wasn't enough to carry Atlanta to sustained success. They dropped from the 5 seed the season prior to the 9 seed in 2022, barely sneaking into the playoffs after Trae Young backpacked them through the play-in tournament. They were then thrashed in 5 games at the hands of the 1 seed Miami
How
Heat
y'all feel about the playing tournament? Man? Y'all like the playing tournament? I don't know. Like, I still have. I don't know.
in the first round, where Trae had one of the worst stat lines from any star player I've
I don't
ever
know
seen.
how to feel. I still feel like I don't know. I feel like if you the ninth seed or 8th seed, your ass need to go home. Like facts, but
Looking to shake things up, Atlanta made a blockbuster trade, bringing in DeJounte Murray to become Trae Young's backcourt mate. While it was indeed a flashy move, there were definitely some questions regarding the fit. Like Trae, DeJounte operated best with the ball in his hands, so something was going to have to give between the two if they wanted to make it work. And ultimately, it didn't. The Hawks finished at an even 500 before losing to the Celtics in the first round. They put up a decent fight, and Trae hit
but cute, bro. I got the Celtics going back to the finals. So I'm cute, bro. Unless I think K back. I don't know, bro. Jalen Brown and JT, bro. Nigga, this Jalen Brown best season as an offensive player. Like I don't know.
a pretty sick dagger in Game 5 to save their season, but it was clear that Atlanta's backcourt pairing wasn't going to be working out as originally intended. 2024 only continued the downward trend, as Atlanta missed the playoffs entirely after losing to the Bulls in the play-in tournament. Trae was still putting up his usual 25 and 10 during this time, but it quite simply wasn't translating to team success. 2025 proved to be more of the same, which leads us to the current situation we're in right now. Atlanta made it clear they were getting ready to move on from Trae, as they declined to offer him a contract extension when he was eligible last summer. And this year, he was essentially salary dumped by the Hawks in a recent trade to the Wizards, something unimaginable to most NBA fans a few years ago.
That game, did that nigga even let's did that nigga even play a game for them game? Like game, like bro. Points? Oh, he played. Oh, this Atlanta games. I don't. What am I looking at? Wizards Young out with no time to return. Like game, and he injury prone, bro. Like I don't know. I don't know, man.
Although his last 4.5 seasons have been nothing but disappointing, Trae has been by far the healthiest of this group and has put up quality numbers for many
Hell no.
years now. His 2021 playoff run is the most impressive accomplishment on
Nah,
this.
I take what I said. Trey is the best out of it. Nah, Trey is the best. I gotta see Lamelo ball stats. I ain't know Trey was average 29 points at one point. It was averaging 25 points. I ain't realize that nigga stats was crazy. Oh, that's minutes, boy. But I'm about to say, I mean, this nigga averaged 32. I'm looking at the minutes. Okay. 2020, 15 points rookie season. 2021, 20 points per game. 2022, 23 points per game. 2023, 23 points per game. 2024. Yeah, Trey Young got the better stats. Yeah, Trey Young the best out of them. I ain't gonna lie. I take that what I said.
List by a mile. So even if he fades into mediocrity from this point
And I'm
forward,
pretty sure he got the more All Stars, even though LaMelo got snubbed out of some All Stars.
I think it's safe to say he's had the best career out of the four thus far. Up next, we have one of the biggest bag fumblers in the history of the league, Ja Morant. Before I get into his career, I'm just so frustrated that Nike put together this absolutely crazy silhouette for Ja's third signature shoe, and it's currently being wasted on an absolute dud of a season. It's legit the best looking shoe Nike's made in years.
Yeah, and that nigga out for the season.
And it's going to get lost to time because of who it's attached to. But getting back to the task at hand, Ja Morant's flame in the NBA burned very bright and very fast. While Zion Williamson was a consensus #1 pick in the 2019 draft, Ja Morant was still seen as a can't-miss prospect, as his athleticism and court vision made him one of the most intriguing young point guards in quite some time. Memphis was more than happy to have him replace franchise cornerstone Mike Conley and usher in a new era of Grizzlies basketball. Since Zion missed most of his first season due to injuries, Ja was the runaway Rookie of the Year on this rebuilding team. Memphis greatly surpassed expectations in 2020, as they narrowly missed out in the playoffs, losing to the Blazers in the inaugural play-in tournament. Despite the loss, Ja went toe-to-toe with peak Damian Lillard, dropping 35 points to show he was built for the bright lights. The following season, Ja's numbers rose across the board, and the Grizzlies found themselves in nearly the same exact situation. A winner-take-all game against the Warriors to decide the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoff picture. Once again, Ja was going up against an all-time great in Steph Curry, and he once again showed his absurd talent. He put up 35 points again, but this time, he iced the game with 2 clutch floaters in overtime to sneak Memphis into the playoffs. Even though they were soundly defeated by the 1-seed Jazz, it was clear that Memphis had a superstar on their hands.
Well, cause the Jazz was a 1 seed at one point a couple years ago with Rudy Gobert and Devontae Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell. What the fuck am I? Donovan Mitchell. Like, that's crazy how them niggas failed off just in a couple of years.
2022,
like once they traded, them 2 niggas broke that team up. Them niggas ain't been the same ever since.
Ja became just that. In his third campaign, both he and the Grizzlies went up a level. Memphis shot all the way up to the 2 seed in the West, while Ja reached the absolute peak of his powers. In the postseason, Memphis had a respectable run to the second round, and had a puncher's chance against the eventual champion Golden State Warriors, until Ja left the series early with a bone bruise in his knee. But up until that point, he was putting together quite the playoff run. He hit a game-winning layup to give Memphis a 3-2 series lead in the first round against Minnesota, and also dropped 47 in Game 2 of their second-round series against Golden State. It truly seemed like Ja was on track to become the face of the league one day. But from this point onwards, the antics started to get really out of control. Prior to this point, everybody knew that Ja Morant was a bit of an eccentric personality, but it didn't really get in the way of his team during his first few seasons. But his immaturity was starting to result in some very negative PR. And before I get into
the nigga was about to fight one of his teammates like a couple months ago. Like, y'all have seen that clip?
all this, I just wanted to say I'm going to have to skate around.
I told that boy, don't touch me or something.
Getting into specifics, because some of the topics covered here could result in me getting demonetized. In May of 2022, right after they lost to the Warriors,
the boy's flashing that pole.
Ja was beefing with a Warriors fan on Twitter and told him it's free to see how these hollows feel. Later that summer, he apparently punched a
17-year-old wow, bro.
kid in the head and brandished a weapon at a pickup basketball game. A few months later in January, which brings us to his third season, by the way, John was...
What made him tweet that it's okay to feel how... It's free to see how these hollows feel. Like, what made you tweet this game? And you were a basketball player, $1 million basketball player. Like, what made you tweet that? Like, this nigga, why you? Like, yeah, this nigga really threatened to shoot a Warriors fan on Twitter.
A red laser at the Pacers team bus. Go figure out for yourself what that laser was an attachment for. All of these were idiotic and asinine, but it didn't negatively impact his team yet in any way. But in March of 2023, he went live on Instagram and showed off one of his guns while at a strip club. This resulted in him being suspended for 8 games. Despite him being somewhat of a controversial figure, Memphis put together another great season, as the Grizzlies were once again the 2 seed in 2023. But it was all fool's gold. In the first round, the Grizzlies matched up with a Lakers team that was not only red hot, but way more experienced than them, leading to LA pulling off the upset in 6 games. And things pretty much just fell apart.
Oh my god, when that Ja Morant clip came out, there's so many rappers to this day still talking about something. I got my stick in the club like Ja. Like, yeah, them niggas ran that bar to the ground.
From this point. Soon after the loss, Ja was seen yet again waving a gun like a toy on...
His friend wrong for that. Like, gang, how y'all even find this live? 111 viewers? That just shows you don't know who be recording. Like, gang.
Instagram Live, which led to him being suspended for the first 25 games of the 2024 season. By the time Ja came back, the Grizzlies were just 6-19. He led the Grizzlies to a respectable 5-3 record upon his return, but then he tore his labrum and would miss the entire rest of the season. And this is something I haven't talked about yet, but must be addressed: the injuries. Ja dealt with a ton of injuries throughout his career. Attacking the rim as much as he does as an undersized guard quite simply takes a toll physically, and we began to see the results of that during the 2025 season. In this campaign, the Grizzlies started strong, but absolutely fell apart in the latter half of the season, before getting swept in the first round against the Thunder. Ja was once again in and out of the lineup all year due to injuries, and failed to make the All-Star team, as his stats were quite simply not strong enough to warrant a nod, despite his star power. All of that brings us to this year, where, like Trey, things have hit a boiling point. It's clear that Ja is over the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies are over Ja. This past November, he was suspended for getting into it with his head coach, who questioned his effort. And his coach wasn't wrong. It's become pretty clear that his heart isn't in Memphis, and it's showing in the results, as the team's record is horrible, and he's quite simply having the worst season of his career. You can say that it's because he's in a fractured locker room, which is on him, by the way, because he's supposed to be the leader of the team. But even if he wasn't a perfect situation with great chemistry, I just don't think he's quite as good as he was back in 2022 and 23. He doesn't have the same otherworldly athleticism that he used to, and his jump shot quite simply hasn't gotten any better. In fact, it's regressed. So now, he's essentially damaged goods. Ja hasn't had the sustained success of Trey, but I think he peaked higher than anybody else in this video. He was quite simply one of the best players in the league in 22 and 23. And leading your team to back-to-back 2 seeds in the West is no easy feat. That being said, it can't be understated how disappointing these last few years have been for him, because I don't think he'll ever get to that face of a generation tier he once had a chance of being in. LaMelo Ball has had a very weird career thus far. Without getting into it too much, LaMelo had a far from normal development arc as a kid. He won the California State title as a freshman on Chino Hills with his two brothers, one of the most notorious high school teams ever. From there, he spent time professionally in Lithuania, a league his dad created, and the Australian Professional League. Nobody knew what to make of him until he lit it up in the NBL, which is one of the best pro leagues in the world outside of the NBA. From there, he became a consensus top 3 prospect in the 2020 draft, where he ultimately landed with the Hornets. Due to his name and notoriety, expectations were sky high for Melo upon entering the league. And he honestly delivered, as he edged out Anthony Edwards to win Rookie of the Year. On top of that, he was a driving force behind getting the Hornets to a record of 33 and 39.
Well, LaMelo's still one of my favorite players, bro, in the league to watch. Who's my favorite player? Who is my favorite player to watch? I like to watch LaMelo, and I like to watch Anthony Edwards. I like Shea. But yeah, that's the two niggas I like. I like Stephon Castle game too.
Which snuck them into the play-in tournament as a 10 seed. But in LaMelo's first taste
And Kyrie, bro. I miss Kyrie. I miss watching Kyrie hoops.
of postseason basketball, he absolutely stunk it up, scoring 14 points on 4 of 14 shooting in a 27-point loss. Despite that, it was clear that Charlotte had a young franchise cornerstone on their hands. Year 2 is where we saw LaMelo's peak. His numbers jumped across the board, leading to him making his only All-Star appearance of his career. Albeit, it was an injury
Damn, he only a one-time All-Star. Goddamn.
replacement, but his numbers warranted the nod nonetheless. Him and the rest of the young Charlotte core were also making great strides as well, as they finished the regular season 43 and 39. This put them right back in the play-in tournament, where they once again had a chance to get into the playoffs. In their matchup against
Now the Hornets is actually one of the most entertaining teams to watch right now. I ain't gonna lie, they're mad entertaining to watch. Brandon Miller with the dunks, LaMelo just dribbling, shooting off one leg, nipple. They're an entertaining ass team.
the Hawks, they once again got blown out, losing by 29 to end their season. LaMelo had 26 points, but shot just 7 of 25 from the field. And from here, things for both LaMelo and the Hornets went sharply downhill. Despite leading the team to substantial improvements during his tenure, the Hornets decided to fire head coach James Borrego in favor of bringing back previous coach Steve Clifford. On top of this puzzling decision, Miles Bridges also went on to miss the entire 2023 season due to a domestic violence charge. Just when Charlotte was going to
Y'all ain't kick this nigga out the league, but gonna kick Jaden Ivey out the league. Like that nigga really beat on his bit like Miles Bridges.
have to lean on LaMelo more than ever, his body started to break down. During the preseason, he suffered an ankle sprain, which caused him to miss the first 13 games of the regular season. Just 3 games after he returned, Melo once again went down, as he re-injured the same ankle, which kept him out for 11 more games.
You gotta hit up Curry, bro. Hit up Curry for them ankle injuries.
About a month later, PJ Washington came down on his foot, which led to him spraining it for the third
God damn.
time in the span of just a few months. As if it couldn't get any worse, he then fractured his other ankle in February, which ended his season after just 36
God damn, my nigga. You're good.
games. His numbers were great in the games he did play, but he just couldn't find a way to stay on the floor, leading to the Hornets finishing with a record of just 27 and
36 games, please.
55. And honestly, this exact script was repeated for the following couple of seasons.
LaMelo got all them ankles when he be doing too much back stepping. Like he do too much. Like but that back stepping, y'all see how Tyrese Halliburton tore his ACL, all that back stepping and backing up, back dribbling.
Up just 22 games in 2024 and 47 games in 2025 as he continued to battle those same ankle injuries. Charlotte ended up winning just 21 and 19 games in those respective seasons as well. These constant injuries led to him going from one of the biggest up-and-coming stars of this era to someone who for the most part has been forgotten about. Charlotte has been playing some great basketball of late, and LaMelo's availability has been much better this season. But it comes with a caveat. While he's able to suit up for more games nowadays, he's playing a career-low 27 minutes per game, as the team has made a deliberate effort to cut his
and they did bench that nigga a couple times.
Minutes a bit in order to minimize the risk for injury. Because of this, his numbers are down quite a bit from previous years. To summarize, over half of LaMelo's career to this point has been riddled with injuries. Even when he is on the floor, his numbers aren't quite the top-tier superstar stats that many were expecting when he entered the league. If he can consistently stay healthy going forward, and contribute to finally making the Hornets relevant again, he may be able to move ahead of Ja Morant on this list. But until then, he's going to be stuck at number 2. As if there was any doubt, Zion Williamson has had by far
Zion the freak.
the most disappointing career not only of these four, but of any major prospect this century. Heading into the NBA, Zion was seen as the most intriguing young talent since LeBron. His otherworldly athleticism, touch around the basket, and NBA-ready body gave him the opportunity to dominate immediately upon arrival. And while he has for the most part dominated, his entire career has been marred by his inability to stay on the court. And it's been like this since the second he entered the league. Zion was drafted first overall by the Pelicans and immediately drew one of the
God, look how fat he looked.
Greatest crowds in Summer League history. Shortly after showing why he was a generational talent by taking Kevin Knox's lunch money, he bumped his knee and ended up missing the rest of the Summer League. While this was disappointing, we saw just about everything we needed to keep the Zion hype at an all-time high. When the preseason came around, it was more of the same. He was outright dominant in the games he played, but ended up tearing his meniscus right before the season started. After missing the first few months, he finally made his debut at the end of January, and immediately showed flashes of that greatness. After one of the randomest heat checks in NBA history during his first game, Zion absolutely dominated the paint, as he was quite simply a freight train once he got downhill. Had he played in more games, he likely would have won Rookie of the Year, but his injury and the pandemic shutdown halted any real chance of that. Year 2 is the best season of Zion's career by far. He played in a respectable 61 of the 72 games in 2021, and averaged 27 points a game on an absurd 61.
But they got a 72-game season. That's perfect, gang. They need to lower the games in the season, bro. Like, make it 72 games, 65. You know what I'm saying?
Percent from the field. Quite literally game-breaking numbers. And the craziest part of this was he didn't have otherworldly spacing on this team. He was playing alongside guys like Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe. Although New Orleans missed out on the play-in tournament with just 31 wins, it seemed like the young core surrounding Zion could one day develop into a competent team. But this is where the cracks started to emerge. About a month before the beginning of the 2022 season, Zion broke his foot. While this injury required surgery, there was optimism among the organization that he'd be able to return in about a month for opening night. However, he ended up dealing with multiple setbacks that ended up causing him to miss the entire year. While he was gone, the young and scrappy Pelicans snuck into the playoffs by winning 2 play-in games, and ended up giving the 64-win Suns a hard-fought 6-game series in the first round before being eliminated. At this point, it was clear there was something brewing in New Orleans. They put a strong supporting cast around Zion, it just came down to whether or not their franchise cornerstone could properly lead them into contention. In 2023, it seemed like things were starting to finally come together. Through the first 37 games, New Orleans was sitting at 3rd in the conference, and Zion was once again putting together all-star numbers. He strained his hamstring in early January, but it was expected to just be a minor setback.
This nigga, a hamstring, foot, broken foot, torn meniscus. Yeah, his career, well, I ain't gonna lie. Y'all think he gonna go to another team and hoop? All that shit, bro. Nigga, whole body, lower body, the
But as we've seen with Zion, it's never that simple. What was supposed to be a 3 to 4 week injury ended up costing him the entire rest of the season, as he once again suffered multiple setbacks. New Orleans dropped from 3rd in January all the way down to 9th by April, missing the playoffs again in what was yet another lost season. In 2024, it seemed like Zion started to figure things out. He played in 70 games and led the Pelicans to their best record in 15 years with 49 wins. The only problem? New Orleans was still only the 7th seed due to the West being absolutely loaded this season, meaning they would have to go through the play-in tournament if they wanted to make the playoffs. Zion rose to the occasion in their 7-8 matchup against the Lakers, dropping 40 points in what was the biggest game of his career to that point. But like we've seen so many times before, Zion's body failed him.
I know I'm from Louisiana. I'm a Pelicans fan. These were some fun times when we was in the play-in, made the playoffs, bro. Then we got smoked by OKC.
As he left the game during crunch time with yet another hamstring injury. Unsurprisingly, the Pelicans lost this game, and then Zion was ruled out for the following play-in game, leading to them missing the playoffs entirely despite almost winning 50 games. Him getting hurt in the one truly big game of his career was just so telling. Despite the mounting evidence that building around Zion was never going to lead to success, New Orleans gave it one last shot in 2025. They traded for DeJounte Murray in the offseason, adding to what was already an extremely talented roster on paper. But the season turned out to be disappointing for everybody involved. Pretty much the entire rotation struggled with injuries, and Zion was no exception, as he suited up in just 30 games. On top of that, DeJounte Murray tore his Achilles in January. This led to the Pelicans blowing it up, trading away Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. And now, Zion is pretty much an NBA purgatory. He's had pretty solid availability this season for his standards, but the team around him is just awful. And while Zion's numbers are solid,
Now chill, fire. We got potential. Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen. We gotta keep Trey Murphy, but Trey Murphy, our best player, bro. Oh my god, yeah.
they're nowhere
We signed Herb Jones to extension.
close to what he was doing back in 2021. Regressing like this in your mid-20s is not a good sign by any means. And without any clear pathway to improve their roster in the coming years, it seems like New Orleans is going to be at the bottom of
Yeah, we don't got no fucking pick. No first round pick. Oh my god, damn, we so stupid.
the West for a very long time. Since Zion had the highest expectations, has missed by far the most games, and has shown the highest upside of anyone on this list, he was just a shoo-in for number one. I know the entire tone of this video is negative, but I am rooting for these guys to figure it out. And it's really a shame we've been robbed of so many memories and highlights over the last few years. Hopefully they can all bounce back and we can see them unlock their full potential. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments which of these four you still have the most faith in.
Like all them back steps, all that footwork, LaMelo be doing too much. Like he tearing his meniscus, he breaking his foot. Like,
Subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
make sure to comment, subscribe, and all deuces. But the Hornets, though, I want to see the Hornets make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure I just checked they 9th in the East. Please make the playoffs, my nigga. Y'all niggas about to don't drop out. Come on, no, don't choke, my nigga. Like, yeah, they 9th. But Hornets, don't choke, my nigga. Don't let the Heat pass y'all. Like, but nah, I think they're gonna be good. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be good. 43-37. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be good. But make sure to comment, subscribe, and all deuces. But you don't never know. Them niggas could go on a crazy losing streak.